How y'all doing? Thank y'all so much for clicking on today's video. In today's video, we're going to be covering the Ohio train derailment. And you might be saying, I know all about it, but there's been some new updates. And I know, like most of us, want to kind of stay up to date with this stuff. And they keep finding more and more of these very dangerous chemicals that were spilled. And a lot of them are cancer causing.
Right. And the dystopic part about it is it seems that the mainstream and even the feds are just in large part just maligning it, ignoring it, and doing as least amount as possible.
Yeah.
It's really kind of disgusting. Meanwhile, we think it's great that we're sending $100 billion to some proxy trash overseas, and they keep begging for more, and it's just insane. And here we have legitimate issues on our own soil. And, prior to this, in the last 4 or 5 years, everything was some national disaster, and they would take every single hurricane, and before it even touched ground, it would become a federal emergency before these things even hit shore. And here we have a real emergency, and the incompetence and the way that the district of criminals and the predator class are just handling this whole debacle is atrocious. It's a travesty to humanity. It's an attack on just all living mankind and creatures. So it's very sad.
So true. Alrighty, y'all. So we are going to take a break for just a second here in the studio, and we wanted to say one of the best ways to support the channel and what we do here, because we don't make any money on YouTube, is go check out TheTexasBoys.com, where we sell awesome merch. Go Green, Compost a Globalist in Compost Brown.
There you go. I like
also, make common sense common again. Also, we have our native mushroom brew here, which has 7 different types of mushrooms in it. Awesome stuff. Go check it out. Also, we have our own native brew line of coffee, where it's all locally harvested from small coffee farmers. And also, go check out our honey. We'll get back on into the video.
So this article, the title is Cancer Causing Compound Potentially Spreading Across Eastern Ohio. And if you look into this at all, as far as when the controlled explosion took place, this cloud of dioxins went way past Eastern Ohio, went into Pennsylvania, went up into Canada. So this is a very pervasive issue that's literally international. I mean, this did affect Canada as well.
So crazy.
Following the Ohio train derailment, Senator Sherrod Brown and Senator J.D. Vance wrote to the Environmental Protection Agency and its state counterpart to request more information about the spread of dioxin in East Palestine. According to data, the harmful compound can cause cancer. According to data, yeah. In the letter,
According to the science.
In the letter, the 2 Ohio senators warned EPA Administrator Michael Reagan and Ohio EPA Director Ann Vogel that the combustion of the vinyl chloride, one of the toxic chemicals that was released and burned after a train transporting it derailed in East Palestine, Ohio earlier in February, can result in the formation of dioxins. And for those of you that don't know, dioxins are the major components of Agent Orange, and that's what we sprayed all over the place in Vietnam. And this is the big Hegelian dialectic when it comes to left and right and all that things. I mean, we are, I guess, for lack of a better term, conservative. We are Christian. We are tradcon, as the hip cool cats would say.
We both said it at the same time. That's funny.
But that does not mean that we hate the environment.
No,
we thoroughly believe, and for right-ink conservatives, it sounds real hippie when you start talking about you care about the environment.
Yeah,
you
and
care
the
about
other
the
thing is
soil.
that you got these, not trying to put anybody in a box or whatever, but you got the left side or whatever, and they're talking about how you got to save the planet, get your electric cars and stuff like that, zero footprint. But then when we get a nasty, disgusting chemical spill, the right and the left, it's just like, just total silence.
Yeah, and I mean,
Just,
bottled water and Big Macs is kind of a
no,
joke. I
that's
mean,
just,
I'm just saying, but
man.
and then you have this other whole side that literally wants to say, the reason East Palestine is being ignored is because they predominantly voted for the Orange Man, which
What?
that's absurd. I mean,
Seriously?
that's just absurd.
That's,
And all the optics and all the way that people want to collateralize this for political clout, and and that's disgusting. Regardless of which way you want to spin it.
I mean, I personally think what they should be doing instead of buying Big Macs and bottled water, I think they should be figuring out some way how to collect these disgusting chemicals that are in our water now, flowing through all the rivers and things like that, and sprinkled all over everything. Some way to neutralize it or something. Somehow, I don't know. I know that's really easy to say.
Right, and the
but
travesty is there are ways to contain these things, and they purposely waited to, which amplified and magnified the environmental impact that's going to happen, and that our country is experiencing right now, and you can't stuff that genie back in the bottle.
No.
And it's just this is so obscene and absurd. And once again, this just points out, for all the people, and we need more regulation and more government and more help. And we're just seeing this feigned ineptitude. Oh, well, you don't understand, and political, and it's messy, and come on, man. Like, people are going to die of cancer, and you know what? You know what? That cancer is not going to care if the person's a Democrat. It's not going to care if the person's a Republican. It's not going to care about the color of their skin.
Nope.
Cancer
Cancer's
is
cancer.
not going to distinguish between everybody and all the different critters and everything else that's going to be ravaged by this trash. And, as long as it's politically expedient, this is collateral damage. And this is absolutely no different than the pro-war drum beaters, and my China and my Russia, and we got to go to war and fight China. And, Russia bad and all this stuff. It's all the same thing. And war is the exact same thing. And that's the other thing that is disgusting about the EPA, and also the, save the tree hugging clowns and all this stuff. The biggest polluters, once again, against the planet and all things food and all things natural is the government, is exclusively the military industrial complex, whether it's Ronnie Reagan or whether it's Sloppy Joe, and it's the usual suspects, and they're saving democracy and dropping democracy all over the whole world,
Rules for thee and not for me.
Yeah, it's the district of criminals. It is the predator class, and we're chattel. It's the robber barons versus the people that just want to be left alone. You know what I want? I want to be left alone. Oh, we have all these services.
No, I don't
we
want
have all
any
these services. Can I select? Can I be left alone, and can you get away from me? And I'll never see you again. That would be
Can't
great.
do
Is that a great option? That's the option that I choose. The service I want is none of the above, and hopefully I never see you again. Oh boy, sorry for the rant, y'all. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Research suggests that dioxins are highly toxic compounds and are considered persistent environmental pollutants, which basically means that they never go away. The senators quoted EPA information writing that dioxins can interfere with hormones. Harmful chemicals were also linked to cancer and reproductive and development problems. So now, don't get all tinfoil, and they're not trying to kill us, and they're not trying to make us non-reproductive and all that stuff. So, you know,
Don't you dare think that.
this is obviously coincidental.
Yeah, of course. It's one big accident.
The findings also revealed that exposure to dioxins may harm the immune system. But trust the science on this, y'all.
Exactly.
I'm sure, what I really think needs to happen right now is they need to develop a dioxins vaccine.
Exactly.
And it would be very lucrative,
Yeah.
And Big Pharma and all the great scientific minds of the world need to develop a dioxins vaccine, and then we need to distribute that.
And also, I don't know if y'all know this, but actually, they were changing the definition of these chemicals and like what is a safe amount or whatever to be in the air, like until you like have some type of side effect or whatever. And they changed it like days before the crash, or
they changed,
or what was it, like a day before?
Less than 30 days before the crash, they changed the parts per billion of toxicity for the vinyl chloride. Well, the dioxins, they changed
That's
it.
just so shady.
From 1/1000th to like, they changed it like well over 1,000-fold in magnitude as far as exposure and what is acceptable and non-carcinogenic and all that stuff. Even though these are persistent, which means they will accumulate. So you can mucks with the numbers all you want, but if it's persistent and it's going to accumulate, it's kind of relative. Brown and Vance asked whether the agencies were testing for dioxins and seek more information about the federal and state protocol for handling mass dioxin exposure. Following our visits to East Palestine this past week, where we heard directly from the members of the community, we remain concerned that it does not appear that the U.S. EPA, OEPA, or Norfolk Southern is testing for dioxins. We are concerned that the burning of large volumes of vinyl chloride may have resulted in the formation of dioxins that may have been dispersed throughout East Palestine community and potentially a much larger area. Now, here's the thing that everybody knew, and Norfolk Southern knew, and the EPA knew and knows, that when you burn vinyl chloride, it creates dioxins. That's the other problem with the self-controlled demolition of the vinyl chloride in the tankers is they said, we need to blow this stuff up because this wind is coming in, and they waited 3 hours to do it, and the spread was much worse than what it should have been according to the original calculations because they waited. Now, if you're cynical, you're going to think that they waited on purpose, and it appears that way. And then their non-reaction.
But if you think that, you're just tinfoil hat.
But their non-reaction to clean any of it up reinforces your paranoia and just continues to reinforce the fact that they are incompetent on purpose because they're satanic.
Of course.
Ohio senators calling for transparency to ensure public safety. And, transparency is just a buzzword. The Obama administration, they were transparent. He drone bombed more people on the globe than any other president ever. Transparency. And they were more in bed with the lobbyists than just as much as everybody else. So transparency, they can take their cheesy buzzword. And the Ohio senators included 6 questions about the agency's current dioxin testing strategy that they wanted to be answered by February 24th, which I think is today.
Whoa.
Brown and Vance concluded the letter by demanding both agencies coordinate an immediate testing regime to ensure regular testing for dioxins in the region.
It's actually the 25th today, so it was yesterday.
There you go. It was yesterday.
Yesterday.
They explained that strict monitoring must be a part of long-term strategy and that it should be enforced immediately and communicated to the local community for transparency. Following the disastrous train derailment in the small eastern Ohio town, the train operator Norfolk Southern decided to release dioxin along with other potentially harmful chemicals to prevent a massive explosion. While the town's residents were asked to evacuate during the release of the chemical, they were told it was safe to return to the area February 9th. So they were told it was safe and effective, y'all. They were told, just like that Christy Todd Whitman and that thing of a person and that was directing the EPA or whatever she was directing after 9/11 that told all the residents of New York City and that gigantic cancer cluster from the fallout of that inside job. She said that the air was safe to breathe and all that good stuff and go back to work. And no, and they knew it wasn't. And they had all the air quality tests and they knew it wasn't. And is Christy Todd Whitman's big bird butt sitting in jail? No, you know, because she's part of the district of criminals. Yep. She's the establishment, you know, and she was a conservative Republican. It's a joke. Okay. Allegedly, the EPA, Ohio EPA, and Norfolk Southern contractors have conducted several tests to assure residents that their air and water is in the area are safe. Despite these tests, some locals express concern that the catastrophic event could impact their long-term health.
Just a little.
Experts have also warned about the potential environmental damage from the chemical release. Yeah, you know, it's always, you know, that's always the emphasis. It's way more, you know, oh, somebody's pet cat died.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, everybody gets cancer. Sil Cagliano, a local hazardous materials specialist, said that the incident was akin to a nuclear winter. That was weird because I think Sloppy Joe said something about a dark winter, but EPA orders Norfolk Southern to clean up affected areas. On February 22nd, the EPA ordered the train operator to oversee. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, good.
Thanks, EPA. Since it happened on, February 3rd, and then you waited till February 21st after the chemicals were nicely dispersed everywhere and then saturated and continued to just infect the soil and the air and the animals. You waited till February 21st to order the train operators to oversee the cleanup in affected areas following the chemical spill. Instead of injecting yourself and just doing it.
Yep.
You know, railroad company Norfolk Southern was also ordered to cover all charges for the cleanup. Amid growing fear and frustration among residents about safety and transparency, the EPA took the helm, just like they did after 9/11. So that's going to be safe and effective, I'm sure. They took the helm at the fallout from the February 3rd train disaster, moves from emergency response to the cleanup phase. The EPA required Norfolk Southern to reimburse the federal government to provide the cleanup services for affected residents and businesses following the incidents. Should Norfolk Southern fail to comply with the order to identify and clean up all the contaminated water and soil, the EPA will take over the work. Yeah, but it's way after it's too late. Then they're going to say, oh, you're incompetent. So we can point to this multi-billion-dollar company. They get to demonize the billion-dollar company, which I'm not saying that they're good and right, but it's just this stupid. Instead of going after the problem, addressing the problem, and fixing the problem, it's all about assigning blame. It's all about pointing the finger, and it's all about making sure that the problem is actually persistent and never goes away. And if we can drag our feet and be ineffective and inefficient and then blame somebody else, that way we create the most amount of carnage. I mean, it's just a joke. The agency will also seek triple damages from the multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah, so the EPA is going to seek triple damages, and then who does that go to? All right, that's a great question, right? Key bono, who benefits, right? Well, it's going to go to the EPA that has terribly handled the matter.
So the last time I checked, the EPA doesn't live in Ohio.
Correct. Nor do they care. And their
about
actions,
the people in
their
Ohio.
actions clearly reflect that they absolutely care nothing about the people of Ohio, much like the FDA. Okay. While no fatalities or injuries have been reported from the toxic spill, a free community health clinic has been opened to assist worried residents clamoring for definitive answers about short and long-term health risks. Aside from the cleanup, Norfolk Southern will also be responsible for out-of-pocket medical costs. The company must also reimburse fire services for equipment contaminated during the emergency response. Last week, Norfolk Southern earned the ire of residents when the company didn't attend a town hall meeting. However, under the binding order, the company is now required to attend public meetings and post information online. And basically what they've done to date is they've offered every resident $1,000.
Oh, man, that helps so much.
I mean, congratulations, you have cancer for life in all your extremities and in your lymph nodes.
Here's
but here's
$1,000.
I hope this helps. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for your contribution. It's tragic. This is a real time tragedy. This is, in a very real way, an act of war against humanity.
Yeah.
Okay, against living, breathing human beings, against their environment, against their livelihood, against their animals. It is an atrocity.
And this can happen anywhere, which is scary.
Not only can it happen anywhere, it'll
is.
happen more and more.
Yep.
And the more incompetent they are, the worse the ramifications will be. And it's just the beat goes on. It's really terrible.
You would think that
Why
there
not
would
just
be
abolish
like
the
the
EPA?
governor of Ohio or whatever would be on it, right? Or
Well,
were they?
he's a Democrat and he doesn't like Donald Trump. So that
He
explains
hates
all.
everybody in Ohio then?
Yeah.
Like all of his people?
Well, that's all.
Like, that's so
you know,
retarded.
Most of these predator class, whether they're in the district of criminals or whether they're in their own state's capital, they're mostly concerned with themselves and their pockets and their brothers and uncles and who they give these fat cat contracts to. That's usually who they're mostly concerned with.
Yep.
And then whoever their lobbyists are and whoever their political tentacles are tied to in the district of criminals, so they can get more funding for themselves and their machine. Sad, tragic. Please be praying for these people in East Palestine. And we're going to be looking into there are several give, send, go funding projects, and we're looking for one to promote, and just spread the word and just try to help in a more
And
grassroots
if y'all know
way.
a good one, just go ahead and comment down below either the name of it or whatever, and we'll look into it. We're just trying to figure out the best one that looks kind of the best and will support kind of the most people out there, and then we'll just put it on blast.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching today's video. Hopefully gives a little bit more clarity to the situation, how crazy it is, and what our government really thinks about us, which is nothing. They don't give a rip about us at all. So, and the governor of Ohio doesn't give a rip at all about his people that live in his own state, which is such a sad thing.
And if you're a Christian, what this is revealing is it's revealing the beast system.
Yep, exactly.
You think, there's a lot of people out there in the right-left paradigm. Oh, well, you voted for this, and this is what you wanted, and now you got it. And if you hadn't voted for Mike DeWine, none of this would have even happened.
Yeah.
And sloppy Joe Biden and all that stuff, And it's just, we need to break free from this paradigm of the uniparty and the district of criminals.
Because they're all connected.
They're all connected, and they all love it. They lick their chops when stuff like this happens.
Yep.
And the more carnage, the better. Sad.
So anyway, y'all, thank y'all so much for listening in and tuning in. And remember to hit the subscribe button because YouTube keeps on desubscribing people. So keep checking, making sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell. So as
hit us up on Rumble.
Yeah, hit us up on Rumble.
Sign up for our Rumble.
Drop a comment, like this video, and we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
See y'all. Bye.